They don't brush?
No, there are people that probably just rarely ever brush their teeth and don't get a cavity. I have people that brush their teeth 3 times a day and get cavities.
Right.
Some people are just more prone to getting cavities. Some people aren't. So if you have somebody that doesn't ever brush and doesn't ever floss and doesn't get a cavity, that doesn't mean it's okay.
Hey, welcome to the show. I'm Chris Adler. I host and post a new podcast episode every Thursday on my website, adler.tv. My guest this week is my dentist, Dr. Thomas E. Dudney. And this week's episode is part 2 of my conversation with Dr. Dudney. So if you missed last week, go back and check that out. We're just going to pick up where we left off. Have a listen. So you mentioned fluoride.
Right.
I remember in San Antonio, I lived in San Antonio when I was a kid, and they were going through all this legislation deciding whether to add fluoride to the public water supply.
Right.
And people were freaking out, like saying it's poison, and people were freaking out saying, no, we need it, that kind of thing.
Right.
Where do you stand on that? And where's the truth?
As long as it's the right amount and it's regulated properly, it is not poison, and it will not hurt anybody. It won't kill fish. It won't hurt people. But there's a lot of misinformation out there. But every study, definitive study done well by the right people, meaning people that are not in it for some that they have an axe to grind or whatever.
Or they sell fluoride.
Will tell you that it's beneficial, though. It's all beneficial. So there are people out there that say, so here's the thing with fluoride you have to understand. It's just like a lot of things. Too much fluoride can be bad. There's a condition called fluorosis where you can get too much fluoride. So, for example, some people's water supplies where they grew up maybe on well water or they weren't drinking a city water or something, they might have had naturally fluoridated water and they might have had too much fluoride in the water and they could actually get a condition where it causes teeth to be darker or have striations or staining in their teeth from the fluorosis. So you can get too much in too great a concentrations. But everybody, anybody that's intelligent in this field will tell you fluoride makes teeth harder and makes stronger and is one of the biggest reasons why we see less decay in children now than we did, say, 30, 40, 50 years ago. Where decay in children was rampant, now it's much less likely because so much of it's been stamped out or eradicated from fluoride because just about everybody in every municipality in this country just about has fluoridated water now because of the benefit. The benefits far outweigh any type of detriment that it could cause.
Interesting.
So when you come to a dental office, there's a couple things about that can be intimidating, especially adults. Now, younger people, kids, adolescents, teenagers, young adults, they've grown up where dentistry has changed, where it's not as intimidating and there's a lot less bad experiences. But older adults, they associate a dental office with bad experience. And one of the first things they associate is a smell. You'll walk in and you'll get that smell of the dental office and immediately their mind will think back to a bad experience they've had. So we try to do something about that. One of the things we do is we burn scented candles. We want to give off a nice aroma. Yeah. Another thing we do is we bake cookies here simply because what do you associate with baked cookies? It's grandmother's house where she baked cookies and you just loved going there because you knew she was going to have some fresh baked cookies or something. So we want to...
Who doesn't love cookies?
Exactly. So you want to try to change that perception. The other thing is you want a calm, relaxing environment. So a patient coming in here for the first time, they're going to have a consultation. They're going to be a little intimidated. What's the worst thing you can do is sit them in a dental chair, shine a light in the face, and come at them with that hook that you said. They don't want you coming at them with that hook, which is the Explorer, which has a little sharp point on it that we use to check for a cavity in a tooth. But sometimes if you got a sensitive spot on the tooth and you touch it with that metal tip, you can get that sharp shooting pain.
Yeah.
So we try to avoid that at all costs. But we don't want to sit them in a chair and shine a light in the face. We want to sit down and we want to meet them. We want to greet them. We want to find out why they're here, how we can help them, and kind of get to know them a little bit.
And do you have the shag carpet in here to tell people this is actually what your tongue looks like, and you need to brush your tongue because it's actually kind of furry.
I hadn't thought about that. I might start using that. I wish you hadn't referred to it as shag carpet. This is supposed to be shag carpet. Do you think of
shag was bad in the 70s and
60s and 70s.
Yeah, that's right.
More 70s, I guess. Shag carpet in the 70s. We just wanted something in here that was, a little more comfortable, softer, maybe a little sound absorbing, something that would give a quieter type of more homey feel to it.
Yeah, but is that true though? Like the tongue is pretty kind of furry. It's not really like smooth and flat.
The tongue it is, and it has like little bitty indentations. And it's an interesting thing about the tongue is that bacteria will get trapped in some of those little indentations in your tongue. So in fact, we've had patients tell sometimes, listen, I brush and I floss and I still have bad breath. Well, we ask them to use a tongue scraper because a lot of us do this, and I think about it from time to time, but even the dental profession probably doesn't do as much as they should, even if you have good brushing and flossing habits. But scraping your tongue, even not on a daily basis, on a couple, 2 or 3 times a week is probably a good thing to do because you will get bacteria that will harbor in your tongue. So yes, there are little places. If you looked at your tongue under the microscope, it would definitely not be smooth.
Yeah, I probably 2-3 times a week. I'm real sensitive when it comes to like just mouth feel. I know a lot of people. By the way, why does everything that in your mouth feel like it's gigantic? Like if I have a tiny bump or something somewhere, I'll look in the mirror and be like, I thought that was as big as a basketball, and it's as big as a pinhead. For some reason, it feels gigantic. Anything that's in your mouth or whatever.
I wish I had an explanation for you.
It's crazy.
That.
Yeah,
I don't honestly don't have a really good explanation for you. It's
how babies are always putting stuff in their mouth. They're like that's one of their number one discovery tools.
Right.
Maybe it's just carried on through life in that way or something. I don't know.
It does. And we have patients tell us all the time they'll have like a little spot on their tooth or a little filling will come out. It's just a tiny little hole, and they go, I got this giant crater back there.
Yes.
Because to their tongue, it just feels like this big giant hole, the Grand Canyon. In reality, it's really small.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's the opposite effect of the mirror that, where it says objects may be closer than they appear.
Yes.
I guess it's the opposite effect of that. In your mouth to your tongue, it's actually bigger than it is.
I've got this pit in one of my teeth that feels gigantic.
Right.
But it's actually like the perfect size for a strawberry seed to get stuck in.
Right.
Because I eat strawberries for breakfast pretty much every day.
That's good.
And 100% of the time, there's a strawberry seed that I cannot get out of that little thing. It just gets stuck. It's like it's the perfect fit or something.
We should fix that for you.
And so it's tiny. What in the world?
Next time you're in, you let me know. We can put like a little bit of flowable composite in that teeny little pit, and your strawberry seed will never get stuck there again.
Interesting. Okay, I thought I had kind of made that with my top teeth, like carved it out.
You could have.
Okay.
And even, you can get erosion of your teeth. Little pit holes can form in your teeth from just ingesting anything acidic. We do it all the time, every day.
Yeah.
We eat and we drink acidic beverages. We eat acidic foods, and it can cause some minor erosion. We might even, without even having a problem like gastric reflux, we might regurgitate some acids, and stomach acids can cause little pits to form in your teeth if it sits on your teeth.
Yeah.
So it could be any number of things. It probably is, like you said, minor because if it weren't, the hygienist would notice it when she cleans your teeth, or I'd notice it when I checked your teeth. And since we didn't really say anything about it, we must not have seen it as something that was a problem. But if you pointed out to us, it'd probably be something that'd be real easy to fix. And we could do it very conservatively, non-invasive. You wouldn't have to have any drilling. You wouldn't have to have a shot. We just bond a little filling in there and just seal it right up.
Last time you mentioned acidity. Last time I was here, I needed a little kick in the pants as far as like, you know how it is. You're tired. You're on the couch. It's 10 o'clock and you have to wake up at 4. And it's just like, if I got in bed right now, I could fall asleep. This is perfect. And it's just the temptation's there to go and fall asleep. And I've been trying to be healthier in that I've been drinking more sparkling water instead of a Coke or whatever.
Sure.
And the agent that they use to actually make it carbonated, is evidently pretty acidic. So it's going to sleep with some of that in your mouth or whatever, or just drinking some of that right before going to sleep is not the same as actual water. So thank you for the tip, and I've been doing better, trying to do better on that.
Yeah, it is. And now, carbonated beverages are the worst, okay? I mean, you're going to have, because for more flavoring, they're going to use carbolic acid. And so carbolic acid is going to be there, and they're a little bit more acidic. Carbonated water, sparkling water, it's not as good as drinking tap water, which has a 0 pH. It's a pH of 7, which is neutral. Anything below 5.4 pH is going to be acidic enough to soften enamel. The worst thing about nighttime, ingesting anything right before you go to bed, is that we're going to have our most decreased salivary flow at night and when we sleep. And saliva is our really best defense against acidity because it buffers acids. And because it neutralizes or buffers acids, it helps protect the teeth against, acid erosion. So having something acidic on your teeth right before you go to bed is probably not a good thing, because now the acids have a better chance to work because you don't have saliva there buffering them and neutralizing those acids. So, if you were going to go to bed, I would probably recommend, late at night, not drinking carbonated beverages, trying to drink something with a little bit more close to a neutral pH. Interestingly enough, we live in an age and a time where children have gotten away from drinking the two most important things they can possibly drink, milk and water. It's two most important things. They need both of those. They need water for fluoride, tap water. We live in a country that consumes more bottled water than anybody in the world. We have one of the safest drinking water supplies anywhere in the world, but yet we consume more bottled water, which is just crazy. And there's no fluoride in bottled water. So we should consume more tap water, and parents need to know their children should be consuming tap water because it's fluoridated. They also need to drink more milk. And the reason they want to drink more milk is because it not only does it have a neutral pH, but it's healthy for them. It has calcium. It has a lot of vitamin D, a lot of essential minerals and vitamins that your children need for healthy and strong bones and growth factors and all those other things. So kids don't get enough milk in their diet. The other thing is they get too much of is a lot of these new sports drinks, and young kids drink a lot of them, the Gatorades, the Powerades, things like that. If you consume it after an athletic event, that's not so bad. But drinking them all the time and thinking, okay, well, it's not a Coke or it's not a Sprite, so it's got to be better. But parents don't realize how acidic they are. These sports drinks and energy drinks, they're very acidic. And so they can do a lot of damage to the teeth, and they're not as healthy as you think they are because some of them have sugar, like apple juice. Apple juice, you think, and orange juice, you think, wow, this would be healthy. It just sounds like it's healthy. It's got to have vitamin C. It's got to be good. But they're acidic, and they have sugar in them. A lot of them have sugar, but their acidity, apple juice, you don't think apple juice is being acidic, but it is. So these are the things that parents need to be aware of and need to be thinking about.
You mentioned milk being neutral.
Right.
I remember you said one time on the Rick and Bubba show that when there is an incident, like in sports or something like that, a kid gets a tooth knocked out, to either take the tooth, if it's been blown out, take the tooth and either put it back on the way to the hospital or put it in milk on the way to the hospital.
I can't believe you remember. That's been a while back, and that's good information for parents, because it can happen. Sports injuries happen, and one of them is the tooth. A part of a tooth can be fractured off, like Helmsley's son had part of his tooth fractured off, and they put the tooth in milk. They called Christy, and Christy said, put it in milk. Same thing you do if the entire tooth comes out, we call it an avulsion, an avulsed tooth. That means the whole tooth root, everything comes out. The best thing you can do, the best environment that tooth can be in is in the mouth. Don't mean back in the socket. If they can just put it in, hold it in the mouth like a lifesaver, that'd be the best thing. But if it's dirty, it's got dirt on something, I don't want to do that.
Or the kid's bleeding, freaking out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that might not be good. So you don't want to clean it. Don't clean it. Don't scrub it. You can rinse it very lightly in water if you want to. But the best thing you can do, because of the 0 pH, and you could just put in a little cup of milk and just keep it moist. We want to keep it moist. It has the best chance of survival if you keep the tooth moist and you get it implanted within an hour if you can, The quicker you get it back in the socket, the better chance it has of surviving, especially in young kids. So, yes, you're very good to remember that. And it's really good advice. That's the best thing you can do. And call a dentist and get in. And if you can't get a hold of a dentist, just go to the emergency room. Because there's usually one on call or somebody they can call, or they probably know what to do. But speed is of the essence. It's important.
What's the number one cause of those kind of injuries, would you say, in all people? And I know this is kind of a dark question. What's the worst injury, like car accident that you've seen?
Well, car accidents, a pretty bad injury I saw one time was trampoline, and that they're getting better now. But, trampolines hitting the side, the kid missed and hit the side and knocked 3 teeth out.
Yeah.
Probably the worst injury I've seen as far as teeth goes was a patient of ours when she was 11 years old. She was a horseback rider, and something had spooked the horse. She fell off the horse, got her foot caught or something. Somehow the horse ended up kicking her in the mouth and shattered 3 front teeth. So this is a fun case. We're still in the process of treating this case, but she had 2 permanent lower teeth implanted in the front teeth sockets.
What?
And yeah, it's a pretty cool case. It's a really, really fun case. Something we've had a lot of fun following along. The oral surgeon actually extracted one at a time a lower bicuspid, and because they have a root form that's similar to a central incisor, the front tooth, and actually drilled a hole in the bone and implanted the natural tooth, extracted it and implanted it, and then it grew, and then they closed the spaces in orthodontically, and those teeth adhered to the bone just like a natural tooth. And the nerves, because of their age, the root hadn't formed all the way, so the nerves and the blood vessels could reconnect with the tooth, and the teeth are vital. She didn't have to have root canals on the teeth. The teeth still have a normal, healthy nerve in the teeth, and they can be moved and positioned orthodontically, unlike an implant. So it's a pretty cool. So that's probably the worst trauma. And because it wasn't a avulse, meaning the tooth knocked out whole, could be reimplanted, the teeth were basically shattered. So she had no option of reimplanting those teeth. But sports are probably the reason. That's why football players all wear the mouth guards. Basketball probably should wear. You see a lot of them. Seth Curry, he always holds his out when he shoots free throws.
Yeah.
He's wearing a mouth guard.
Yeah.
So basketball is a sport. You can get an elbow, you get a knee, a lot of things. So basketball is a sport you should wear mouth guards in. But we see in women's sports, field hockey, soccer, even softball. I mean, there's a lot of sports. It isn't just males. Women, a lot of females play a lot of sports, and a lot of them are supposedly non-contact. They end up being contact. So protecting your child in youth sports, I think, is one of the best things you can do. But there are a lot of freak-type accidents that can cause a tooth to get avulsed. Car accidents, I mean, you're not going to be wearing a mouth guard, but you would hope that today's seatbelts and airbags could help prevent some of that trauma.
So yeah, I still have that weird extra wisdom tooth in there. Not there, or there, or there, but there. That's why I'm so smart. I know this is kind of bleeding edge or kind of a little bit speculative right now, but there are some studies that are coming out that are showing like your tongue and gum health and teeth health and your overall mouth health have big time implications for the rest of your body, your digestive health, and then the possibilities are endless as far as how it affects the human body.
For sure. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I think this is very important information too. And this is something the general public isn't aware of. A minute ago I stated that it's believed that about 70% of the population, these are studies, this is the experts, this isn't me, this is just stuff I've read. They speculate that it could be as high as 70% of the U.S. population, adults, have some form of periodontal disease. So it could be something as easy as just mild gingivitis, the very first and normal, easy to treat stage of gum disease. However, gum disease has been shown, it's been in a lot of studies, it's believed to be linked to heart disease. So if you think about that for a minute, if there are definite correlations between gum disease and heart disease, this is something important, because people, it amazes me when we talk about, well, heart disease, first off, is the number one killer in our country. More people die of heart disease than anything else. Yeah. So that's something that we should take pretty seriously, obviously. But when you talk about what are the risk factors, one of the big ones, hereditary. They always ask you, anybody in your family ever died of a heart attack or had any form of heart disease? And then they talk obesity, they talk about lack of exercise, smoking. I mean, they can go right down the list. And where do you hear gum disease in there? Or do you ever?
No,
okay.
Right.
Okay, so you don't. And it should be. It should be listed as a risk factor. Have you been to the dentist, and have you had your gums checked, and have you been checked by a professional to find out if you have any form of gum disease? And it becomes even my mind, it becomes even more of a risk factor when you have people that have other risk factors. It's believed that the more of the risk factors you have, the more likely you are to get something. For example, in the mouth, you also, oral cancer has not. The sad thing about oral cancer is that the same number of people are still dying from it they were 20 years ago.
Wow.
Most of our cases we know if we diagnose it early, they have a really good survival rate. But if it's diagnosed late, over 50% of the people diagnosed with oral cancer are probably going to die within 5 years. And the interesting thing is, again, it's a risk factor thing. If you smoke, you're much more likely to have oral cancer. If you smoke and drink alcohol heavily, you're even at greater risk. So these are things that people don't know. And if I were a heavy smoker and a heavy drinker, I'd be in my dental office every 3 months and I'd be saying, you check me out really good, okay? Because I'd want to know. I'd want to catch it as early as I possibly could. But also gum disease and the mouth is basically linked to the rest of your body. It's not some separate thing. So diseases of the mouth can affect the rest of your body. And heart disease is just one of them. Diabetes, stroke, even there are some studies coming out now that even link some possibilities with Alzheimer's and things like that with gum disease and problems in the mouth. So, it's something that deserves a lot of study. It deserves, a combination where we collaborate with our medical partners. I mean, I think dentistry and medicine is irrevocably interlinked here. We just can't ignore that, we're two separate professions and we don't have any crossover. And so I'm happy you brought this up because I think people, if they're more aware of that the health of their mouth is related to the overall health of their body, they might be saying, I don't want to be in that 50% of the population that doesn't see the dentist on a regular basis. And that's pretty accurate. I think you could just about go out there and about 50% of the people in the U.S. do not seek regular dental care, are not on a regular recall schedule where they're going to the dentist at least once or twice a year.
So everybody, the dentist isn't just that guy or that woman that says, I'd like to see more flossing.
Right.
Okay, that's a stereotype. Although last time I was here, you did tell me that you'd like to see more flossing, but that's...
Well, we know flossing will do two things. One, it'll prevent cavities, but two, it also makes your gums get healthy. It's hard you can't clean between your teeth with a toothbrush. You just can't do it. You need to clean between your teeth, and you need for your gums to be healthy. In other words, if you take somebody that flosses all the time, their gums will never bleed. And they say, well, I floss and my gums bleed. I say, well, that makes no more sense. You say I washed my hands and my hands started bleeding. It just, I take good care of myself. Well, you wouldn't expect your hands to bleed, but if your gums bleed, that's a sign of gum disease, okay?
Yeah.
If your gums bleed from brushing and flossing, then you've got early signs of gum disease. It's just not normal for your gums to bleed. So if they bleed when you floss, you're not flossing enough or you're not flossing right. So that isn't a normal thing to be happening. So to me, I know it sounds like we're just bugging you about it, and we don't mean to be. We just, the dental profession understands the benefits from preventing cavities and preventing gum disease. So it's a two-fold benefit. And if people try to say, there was some study that came out recently that said flossing is important, that's a bunch of hooey. I mean, it's just anybody.
This is a family podcast. Please, Dr. Dudney, please.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right. I'll try to restrain my comments. Okay. That's a bunch of malarkey.
There you go. That's so good.
But, it's just, there's too many documented studies. There's too many qualified, educated professionals with degrees, after the other that will tell you how beneficial it is. And I don't think you'll find anybody, that's a specialist, what we call a periodontist of gums and bone, that would tell their patients it's okay not to floss, because we recognize the benefits of those that do. Now, I'm not saying that you couldn't be a person that maybe doesn't floss as much as they, and they just got really strong teeth and maybe healthy gums, and you get away with it, so to speak, But I'm saying that the risk is there if you don't do it, and it's probably not worth the consequences down the road somewhere. Because even if there are people with teeth strong enough, I know people that don't brush and don't floss, and they never get a cavity, ever, because they just have really good, strong teeth. And it's possible to have teeth.
They don't brush?
No, there are people that probably just rarely ever brush their teeth and don't get a cavity. I have people that brush their teeth 3 times a day and get cavities.
Right.
Some people are just more prone to getting cavities. Some people aren't. So if you have somebody that doesn't have a brush and doesn't have a floss and doesn't get a cavity, that doesn't mean it's okay. It just means they have strong teeth. But what was going to happen later on in their life? They're probably going to be those teeth that have perfectly good teeth extracted because they didn't have enough bone to hold them in. And there are people that have happened to. They didn't have any cavities, any fillings, but once they lost the bone because of gum disease, because they didn't floss, then they end up losing all their teeth. So that's not something we want to see happen. So it's not. Listen, the last thing you want to do is bug a patient or make them feel bad because we know they didn't floss and then they feel guilty. Really what we should do is educate our patients and try to tell them, like we're doing right now, the benefits and the importance of it. And if we didn't think it was that important, we wouldn't be telling you. But look at the dental profession as a whole. We're probably one of the few professions that actually tries to prevent the thing that we make our living from. We're trying to prevent decay. We're trying to stamp out decay, literally eradicate it. If we could eradicate it off the face of the earth, the dental profession would. We're trying to eliminate gum disease, even though people with gum disease lead to procedures that we can do that, you get paid for doing.
Sure.
But we don't want to see people have problems. So as a profession, I think that's one of the things dentistry does is it tries to promote health and healthy mouths. And if that means, trying to get people to floss and take good care of their teeth and seek regular care, that's what we're going to do, even if it means we're going to have less work to do.
And when it comes to brushing and choosing your toothbrush, I know the electronic toothbrushes have become a lot more popular, which you guys seem to like.
Right.
And then just also soft bristles in general. I've heard a lot more talk about just go with the softer bristle. It keeps you from brushing your gums away, which I have a little bit of that going on. I think I just go, back and forth like crazy. So I need to work on that.
We live in a society today where we call the microwave age, where everybody's in a hurry. And I'm the worst. I'll put some in the microwave for 20 seconds and still tap my foot wondering why I want it to hurry up.
Sure,
I'm eating something up in 20 seconds, and even that's not fast enough, okay? So we all want things to be faster. What do we do when we brush our teeth? We brush and we scrub. So a couple of things there. One, if you're going to use a regular toothbrush, soft bristle. In fact, ultra soft bristles. That's what we do.
Okay.
We recommend it because the harder the bristle doesn't mean it cleans better. It just means it has a better chance of scrubbing and wearing your teeth away, and it also has effect of causing gums to recede when you scrub against the gums.
Yeah.
That's why electric toothbrushes can be good, because you can't scrub with an electric toothbrush. It usually has some type of rotary motion that will clean the tooth, massage the gums without scrubbing the gums or scrubbing the tooth. So there's 3 ways teeth wear. One is grinding. People grind their teeth, they can wear their teeth away. Erosion, acid either ingested or regurgitated. Acids will erode and wear teeth away. Another way is called abrasion. Abrasion is something that's caused by a foreign object. The most common form of abrasion is toothbrush. So you literally, by scrubbing your teeth, especially if you're consuming anything acidic and softening your teeth, and you lost some enamel to begin with, and then you scrub your teeth with a harder bristle brush, you can literally wear the enamel away from your teeth. So imagine a brushing is something you do once or twice a day, every single day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, you're doing that. So imagine the cumulative effect of a toothbrush on your teeth and the ability of it to wear tooth away if you're using a scrubbing motion. So horizontal brush strokes are not good. Vertical or circular is how you want to brush, not horizontally, because you scrub horizontally. And it's natural to think if I scrub horizontally, I'm cleaning better and more efficiently. But actually, you're not. All you're doing is causing more wear, and you're really causing more problems. Don't clean that. Don't brush that way. And you're right. Toothbrush is important. That's why when people come in here for cleaning, we give them an ultra soft bristle toothbrush.
One last question. Speedy told me to ask you.
Sure.
And that is just to ask you about your grandkids playing baseball.
Yeah.
He said...
That's not for the podcast, is it? So as my son, I had 2 girls, and one of them was a gymnast, which I knew nothing about, so I couldn't coach her. My other daughter played softball for a couple of years, but I was assistant coach. But my son played all sports, and I coached him in every sport, while he was growing up. And I really, because as a dad, you really get into sports, you love sports, you get into coaching.
Sure.
Okay. So, but then they grow up really fast. And one day I blinked my eyes. My son was grown up and I was out of the so-called coaching profession. So now I have a grandson who's 9 years old, who's a super little athlete, who's fun to watch. But it is great to be back at the ballpark again, but I'm not a coach anymore. So it's an entirely different experience, which Speedy, I'm sure, knows about having been a coach himself, whereas now, if he goes to one of the boys' games, he's on the sideline. It's just when you're used to being out on the field, when you're used to being out there with them as a child, and now all of a sudden I see my grandchild and I'm in the stands, it's a whole different thing. So he laughs at me, and rightfully so, because on the one hand, it's really fun to be out there, and I love watching them play, but it's tough being on the other side of the fence because you want to be there coaching. You want to be, into the middle of it. And instead, I'm sitting out there in the stands with all the rest of the parents and grandparents.
When I was in fifth grade, there was a kid that we were playing baseball. A line drive just popped up, just took a weird bounce.
Right.
Caught him right in the front teeth and
Right.
took out all 4 of his front teeth.
Wow.
And he got him fixed though, and everything was
Yeah.
good. His dad was actually a dentist too.
Oh, wow.
But we were all horrified. We were all
bet
just
his dad was, too.
traumatized by it. Yeah. But I'm sure you're thinking about that at times.
Oh,
but
yeah.
But you know what to do. You know how to handle it.
You don't want to have to do it.
Yeah.
You know what to do, but you don't want to have to do it.
In the future at baseball games, if anything were to happen, you know how people are like, is there a doctor in the house?
I know.
People are going to be like, is there a dentist in the house?
You're right. That's funny. If I see anybody at a sporting event even reach for their mouth or grab for their mouth, I'd be out in the field before they could even call for me. Because you know what? You care about the kids and you feel like, hey, I would have an idea what to do. And I'd want somebody else to be helping my child. So I would offer any advice I could or any help that I could give them. So yeah, I would. That would be funny. I've never heard anybody yell, "Is there a dentist in the house?" But I'd be happy to volunteer if they ever do.
Well, you obviously, you obviously care about your grandkids, but you obviously
Right.
care about your patients too, man.
We do.
And you
We
care
do.
about people. You're always so kind when you come by the show, and always so gracious. And I really appreciate you being on the podcast,
Oh, it's a pleasure.
my friend.
It was a pleasure. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I think it's great what you're doing. A lot of times people just don't get the right information, and if you can help them get some good information, I'm always glad to do that. And thank you for that opportunity.
That's it for this episode, and this week's featured nonprofit is Urban Purpose. Urban Purpose exists to build relationships with those in need throughout the city of Birmingham, surround them with safe people, and help them in the journey of rebuilding their lives. Urban Purpose knows that over half of those with mental health conditions never get treated. Help them change that today. It's a great organization ran by great people. So to volunteer, donate, or get more info about Urban Purpose, you can go to urbanpurpose.org. Next week's episode, my guest is civil rights attorney Terrell McCants. Terrell and I are going to sit down and chat in a courtroom in the Jefferson County Courthouse and talk about how our civil and criminal justice systems work. It's going to be a great episode. Thank you for listening on Apple Podcasts or watching on YouTube or Spotify or Anchor or whatever. Thank you. See you next Thursday. And what is that stuff?
Dental floss.
Never heard of it.